short opening and grounding.
Sorry, I just got to hit the record button.
Oh, good. Okay, so the flow of tonight will basically be opening and grounding. We'll do a short opening and grounding. And then we're going to do a little activity, which I'm very, very excited about. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the connection between your menstrual cycle and the moon, right? And then we're going to go into, the different seasons of your menstrual cycle. So yes, we are super, super excited about this. And I think we're going to jump into it, Rox. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Wonderful. Hello, Marie. I see you made it. Okay. So, so yes, thank you everyone for joining. If you're not on mute, please mute yourself. Thank you, Donkey. Okay, lekker. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us. We are super, super happy that you're all here with the Feminine Flow Tribe. And yes, we have a few things in store for you this year, which we are very, very excited about. In fact, we have basically wrapped up our next event. Hey, Rox.
We've got some exciting stuff planned for this year.
Yes. So yeah, save the date for somewhere in May. No, but we pretty much have the dates. But yeah, we'll talk about that going forward. And yes, it's going from a full day retreat to a sleepover. So we're very excited about that. Okay, cool. Let's jump into it. So we'll start with our opening and grounding ceremony. It's going to be short and sweet and basic. So wherever you are, get comfortable. You don't have to assume any type of yogic position. Just connect to your body in this moment. And as you do so, I invite you to gently close your eyes. And wherever you find yourself, take a deep, full breath in. And a deep, full breath out. And we're going to do 2 deep cycles of breath. And every time we do the out breath, I invite you to do an ah sound with me. Allow breath to escape your mouth. Allow sound to escape your body. So take a deep, full breath in through your nose. And maybe shake a little. Good. Deep, full breath in, rounding your belly. And deepening even more. Last one. Deep, full breath in. And very good. Connect to your own cycle of breath. Connecting to your body in this moment. connecting to your own centeredness, wherever that is on your body. And just allow yourself to spend time with other women in sacred circle, collectively allowing the space to be safe, grounded, and secure. And perhaps, if you feel called to, set a tiny, small intention. Now take a deep, full breath in again. And shake it out a bit. Very good. And when you are ready, start to become aware of the sounds around you, the smells, the sights as you open your eyes. Awesome. Okay. I always find it so rewarding to do just a little grounded thing, especially during the week when we get together on during the weekdays, right, in the evenings, because a lot of us work and whatever, and it's this and it's that, and it's like it's a day that's in your head and on your body and all of that. So sometimes it's nice to just and settle in, right? So obviously, if you can't put on your video, that's fine, no worries, it is what it is. But if you can, I invite you to allow yourself to be seen, but only if that feels right, okay? No pressure. Wonderful. Okay, now that we're all grounded, I want you all to do something. So hopefully you can remember when you had your last period. I see eyes going wide and giggles are being laughed. So maybe, I don't know, do some of you use a app to track your cycles? You do? Marie, Kelly, Maxine, Marion, am I pronouncing that correctly? And Val. Okay, so if you do use an app, what I want you to do, yes, an app, wonderful, thank you, Val. If you do use an app, I want you to check it and see when was the first day. I sound like a doctor, they always ask this, right, when you go to them. When was the first day of your last cycle? If you don't know it, get an estimate perhaps, a roundabout, and I'll give you just a few moments to check it.
Oh, Tashana.
Yes.
Do you mean like the first day that we bled, or would it
Yes.
be like the first day of my 7 sugar tablet cycle, if that makes sense?
So that's very interesting. Yes, the first day that you bled.
Okay.
Lekker. So while you ladies get your dates, I'm going to discuss mine. So, for example, the first day of my last period was in the early morning of the 20th of Jan, right? That was just after full moon, right? So what kind of bleeder am I? Bleeder, it sounds so intense, but I like using the word bleed in blood because that's what it is. But anyway, so I am a full moon bleeder. I'll be seen, classified, qualify, whatever, as a full moon bleeder. Okay. Rox, do you know when you obviously know when your date was and stuff? When was that?
Yeah, mine was the 3rd of February, which was literally, I think, just after the new moon. So I'm a new moon leader.
Yes. Okay, so I'm a full. Oh, that's so cool. It's like a yin and yang situation we have going on here. So I'm a full moon and Roxy is a new moon. Okay, let's see. Marina.
9th of Feb.
9. Okay, so 9 was slap bang on the first quarter, right? So you were right in the middle between new moon and full moon, but coming from new moon. Okay. Maxine.
21st of January was the first day.
Okay, so that's the day after me. Yes, that's full moon. I still qualify. I still classify that. I would say, Rox, do you agree? Full moon. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So you are a full moon bleeder, Maxine. Okay. Marion.
8th of Feb.
8th of Feb. Okay. 8th of Feb. Okay. You, like Maxine, slap bang first quarter. Okay. Coming from the new moon. Okay. Val. Today is the first day of my cycle. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so your date is today, which today is the 15th. Okay, so that is right before full moon. So Val, you are a full moon bleeder. Kelly?
I was the 2nd of Feb.
2nd of Feb. Ah, new moon bleeder. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so our new moon bleeders are Kelly and Roxy, right? Our first quarter bleeders are Marion and Marie. Yes? Okay. And full moon is myself and Maxine. And that's about, and as well as Val, right? So we have full moon bleeders, we have new moon bleeders, and we have first quarter bleeders. Okay, wonderful. Now that you know what kind of bleeder you are, I'm going to hand you over to Rox, and she's going to explain a little bit more about that.
Hi, guys. I think before I dive into that, I just want to introduce myself to anyone who's never met me before. My name is Roxy, and I'm a spiritual teacher and healer. I actually met Altashana on my own womb healing journey, and we've since then birthed many beautiful projects together, which I'm sure some of you have seen. We have the Feminine Flow events, and we just launched our Feminine Flow tracker. And there's still lots and lots of stuff that we are planning to launch for the rest of the year. So keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be exciting. Okay, so I wanted to just chat a little bit more about the magic of your cycle. We'll talk about the moon and your cycle as well, because obviously now we've all established what type of moon bleeders we kind of sync with. So your cycle can be a doorway to deep healing and transformation. So Being the source of all creation, the womb is exquisitely designed to carry profound information and insight, right? So when we start to tap into the natural rhythms of our body, we begin to unlock ancient wisdom and we feel more in sync with the divine. So if that's not a good enough reason to just get to know your flow a little bit better, then I don't know what else would be. So just a note before I dive in, if you are taking birth control or no longer have your womb due to hysterectomy or whatever else, or you are postmenopausal, this wisdom that we hold within our womb is still very accessible. So don't be disheartened. I mean, I think all of us are bleeders here, considering we all mention our flow. But for anyone watching the replay who might not have a womb or be postmenopausal or taking birth control, or whatever it may be, the energetics of our womb space remains throughout our entire life. So you don't have to have a physical organ there for you to be able to tap into this beautiful wisdom that we all hold within our wombs. Okay, so just listening to, observing and tuning into your natural ebb and flow month to month can help you to regain your connection to your natural cycle. And as we go through this workshop, it's important to remember that every woman's cycle is different. And that's why it is such a personal and intuitive practice. So hopefully by the end of this workshop, you guys will have a better idea of how to listen to, connect with, and intuitively honor your cycles as you go through the phases each month. Okay. And as you become more aware of your energy during each phase, you can then gain insights into your innermost self and increase your understanding of the ancient wisdom of your body. Okay, sounding very woo-woo, but it's all beautiful. Okay, so when we look at our menstrual cycle and the lunar phases, I just want to explain a little bit of the reason why throughout time, the lunar phases and our own personal phases have been linked together. So firstly, the word menstruation actually is derived from the Latin and Greek word for moon. So there's your first connection, okay? And then women have been looking to the sky for cues about their fertility for ages. And it's even believed that the first calendars were created as a result of charting ovulation and menstruation, which is really incredible. Since the lunar cycle lasts about 29 to 29.8 days, it only makes sense that it would align almost perfectly with the menstrual cycle, which is around 29 days as well. Okay, so by tracking your period and your body's changes throughout the month, you'll gain a better idea of when to expect your flow and a clearer understanding of your body's unique rhythms. And this is why both Eltashana and I encourage women to jot down their cycle, whether you're bleeding, whether you're going through PMS systems, or when you're ovulating, whatever phase in your flow you find yourself, it's really such a beautiful exercise to journal. And I'm sure we can give you some prompts, or Eltashana might give you prompts later, of how you can journal with regards to just tapping into your cycles and your flow and becoming more aware of how you feel emotionally, mentally, physically throughout each phases. Because once you start to track that and see patterns, then it becomes a lot easier to connect with and understand your flow as well. Okay, so you can do this on a piece of paper, in a journal, on a calendar, in a diary. We've also created the Flow with the Moon calendar, which is a really cool way for you to track your flow. There it is, Eltashana is showing, to track your flow and to see exactly where you are in terms of the moon phases as well. Okay, and then obviously there's a million apps you can download on your phone, which are incredible. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for, some of them you can use free, but then not get the premium features. But two that I've used that I really like is, I think it's called Clue. Let me just open my phone here. Clue, and then Cycles. So Clue is like a really good way to track all your symptoms and everything that's happened throughout your flow. And then Cycles I actually just downloaded today, but it's a really cool way to actually visually see where you are in your cycle, whether you ovulating, premenstrual, menstrual. So whatever you're looking for, there's millions of apps that you can download that'll help you out. Okay, so how our own phases and the moon's phases connect. So if you look at the moon phases, it's broken down into 4 main cycles. You have your new moon, you have your waxing moon, you have your full moon, sorry about the dogs in the background, and then you have your waning moon. We also have 4 phases in our menstrual flow. Okay, so there is a bit of a link there. But just remember, while every woman's cycle is a bit different, like we saw in the beginning now, where we all sync differently with the moon can just be a general guide and outline for the 4 phases that we go through as well. So I'm a new moon bleeder, some of you are full moon bleeders. That doesn't make a difference. It's just a good way to understand your 4 phases as well. So when you start your bleed, let's call this the beginning. These are generally day 1 to 7, right? And like the new moon, this phase symbolizes the deep, dark, and mysterious parts of ourselves. Okay, so think about the new moon. You can't see it because the earth is casting a full shadow on the moon, which means the sun's completely opposite the moon on the axis of the earth. So therefore it's a dark moon, right? And this is a beautiful way to symbolize the feelings we have and the way we are during our bleed. Okay, so even though the new moon is considered the beginning of a new cycle, it is also an ending of the last one. So this is a potent time for us to draw our attention inwards and connect to our depth within. And during this phase, it's important to take time to be still, relax, and reflect. In the resting of our body and our mind, we then create space for rejuvenation. So this really is a time for us to honor our cycle to the T, because we're lacking in energy and we might be having cramps or whatever. So it's really important to just rest and allow your body to rejuvenate. So mentally, you may feel tired and lack overall drive. That is completely normal. Use this time to reflect on maybe what you'd like to leave behind, as well as what you'd like to bring forward. So just like the new moon, where we look at what isn't working and what we want to achieve for the next moon cycle, we can do this the same with our menstrual cycle. Okay. Also, when we are bleeding, our intuition, our sensitivities, and our insights are heightened extremely during this time. So this makes it the perfect time to ask ourselves what we want to bring forward and to set intentions for our next either lunar cycle or menstrual cycle. And then emotionally, self-care is extremely important during this cycle phase, all right? So if we do not take time to be alone, we can struggle with feelings of irritability and distress. This is normal. So the need to clear away the past may become transparent through a desire to maybe clean out our spaces, and also enjoying hot baths. I know Altshan is a huge bath fan. So also just journaling and giving yourselves permission to let the emotions flow can really help clarity moving forward into your flow. Okay, we need to feel to heal. And I think a lot of us as women, especially when it comes to our cycle and our flow, we've been ingrained with the belief, well, everyone's been ingrained with the belief that we go crazy. That's why they call it lunatic, the lunar phase. But also everyone thinks we overreact and PMS and blah, blah, blah. This is normal. Patriarchy's just made us feel shitty about the way our hormones go, the way we feel, the way we might react in certain situations during our flow. So it really is important to feel these emotions and process through them. Okay. Then the next phase, we'll call it the rising, and this is pre-ovulation, which is about day 7 to 14. And this phase generally stops after bleeding has stopped. So it just depends on how long your flow is. But now you'll start to feel like you're gaining more energy. So now is a great time to pick up the intensity of training, creativity, whatever it may be. Okay. And we tend to feel sexiest during this time. So we can even start to wear tighter, more playful clothes just to boost your confidence and step into your power as a woman, right? Then mentally during this phase, because our energy is starting to move outward, we have an opportunity to be incredibly productive during this phase. So this is the time to take action on those intentions that we should have been setting during our bleed, because this is the perfect time for us to use that energy to start taking action and working towards new goals, new desires, new plans, new projects, whatever it is. And this is also a period of inspiration and motivation, and our mental sharpness is pretty on point. So it's important to try to stay focused on the projects you're creating, but be careful not to overcommit, because of course we still need to honor ourselves and rest and rejuvenate even when we're not bleeding. And then emotionally, as our energy increases, we also feel more attractive and willing to connect with others. So it's a really great time to be social, to attract a lover, and also to collaborate with people in business or in social environments or wherever you may find yourself with other people. So we do tend to be more positive during this time of our phase. So communication and heart-to-heart conversations can also be very, very powerful. Then we move on to our peak phase, which is our ovulation phase, which is obviously when your body's releasing the egg, but I'm sure Altashana will explain all this just now. And this is when we almost feel a shift starting to happen within ourselves, maybe mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is. But we tend to feel very primal, sensual, and full in our beauty. You'll probably also find that your sex drive is a little bit higher during this time, naturally, because as humans, we need to procreate. And when we're fertile, what would be a better time to feel a little frisky? Then mentally, our ability to create and bring something into the world is at its peak. So during this phase, as much as possible, allow projects to start unfolding naturally. We've already set our desires during our bleed. We've thought of action steps and started taking small steps towards our goal during our pre-ovulation. And now it's a really good time to start seeing these things come to light. Okay. Emotionally, there's also a slight shift in our energy. So in summer, our energy is still moving outwards, making it a great time to make new friends and nurture and support your loved ones. Okay. But also at the same time, our energy begins to also pull inwards. So we may feel vulnerable. So just make sure to honor your emotional standpoint, however you may feel in this stage of your flow. Then the last phase, the dissolution or pre-menstruation. So this is where women experience different physical symptoms during this time, depending on your own unique hormonal makeup, right? So we all might have the same cycles and flows, but we all experience them differently. And that is perfectly fine. We're all unique. We have to honor our body intuitively as to how our body reacts, feels, whatever. So some women during this phase may feel tired, sluggish, and bloated. And if this is you, really try to eat lighter foods. I mean, the last thing you want to do when you're feeling bloated is have a heavy, oily, fattening, sugary meal. And it's also a really good time to just practice meditation. And again, starting to slow down if you are following an exercise program, slowing down your movements. Then mentally, this is a powerful and potent time to tune into esoteric realms, because our intuition, again, is very incredibly high. So it can be a great time to acknowledge what is and isn't working again, but don't make any major decisions at this time. I think leave that till post-bleed. And then again, because you're approaching your bleed again, you can start thinking about what you want to create or imagine or chase in the next flow that you find yourself going through. And then again, your emotions range depending on your unique balance or maybe imbalance of hormones. So during this phase, it's quite normal to feel anxiety, depression, irritability, and moodiness. And this is generally a common indication that this phase has begun. Think PMS symptoms, right? So just practice patience and honor your emotions by creating space for self-care. Self-care is so, so important. And just try sticking to your daily self-care, self-love, self-improvement routines, and make sure you spend just a little bit of time alone so you can regroup and come back to yourself. So those are the 4 main phases. And you can see how beautifully they kind of link in with the phases of the moon. Again, like I said, we don't all sync exactly to a specific phase with the moon, but it's just a nice way for you to track and understand and follow your own cycle. Okay. Then we spoke a bit in the beginning when we spoke about when we had our bleeds about a new moon versus full moon period. So I wanted to just dive a little bit deeper into that so you can kind of understand what it's symbolic of as to which part cycles you sync with during the moon. So after you start to track your body cycles for a few months, you'll know whether you tend to menstruate around the new moon, which is obviously the beginning of the lunar cycle, or the full moon, which is then the end of the month's lunar cycle. Or some of us had the waxing or the waning periods in between. So some believe that periods should align with the new moon, since the dark moon phase is so closely associated with rest and withdrawal for self-care. But like I said, there is no correct moon phase to bleed with. And personally, I feel much freer allowing my body to go with the flow and observe how I align with the moon. You're always going to change. It's never going to be exactly synced with a specific moon period for your whole life. It's always changing. Like I always say, the only constant in life is change. So there are 2 traditional menstruation patterns: the white moon bleeding, or menstruation with the new moon, and ovulating with the full moon, and then the red moon menstruation, which is bleeding with the full moon and ovulating with the new moon. So your period will attune to both cycles over the course of your life, but it's fascinating to note what's going on in your life energetically as your body cycles through. So white moon cycle. So I'm a white moon cycle because I bleed on the new moon. Okay, so if your body follows a white moon cycle, you'll tend to obviously bleed during the new or the waning moon. And since biodynamics has shown that the earth is most fertile during the full moons when you ovulate, the cycle is most traditionally linked to fertility and motherhood. So if you are a white moon woman, you'll feel a surge in your intuition during your period, and you might feel the urge to withdraw for nourishment and self-renewal. So in other words, you're tapped out energetically and have given the month your all. So this is your you time. So this also is quite, if you sync with the new moon, with your bleed, it just shows that your focus is more inwards as well. So you might be going through a phase of deep introspection, or starting a new journey, or working through shadow work, or whatever it may be. This could lead you to actually sync your cycle with the new moon. Okay, then the red moon cycle. The cycle follows the full moon, meaning your body bleeds during the waxing or full moon and is most fertile during the new or waning moon. And because full and waxing moon phase energies are outgoing, vibrant, and creative, some feel this is counterintuitive to menstruation. Not so. In ancient times, the red moon cycle was associated with shamanism, with high priestesses, and with healers. So those who tend to menstruate with the full moon are said to focus their darker and more creative menstrual energies outwards rather than inwards, in order to nourish and teach others from their own experience. So many times women with this cycle will be more focused on self-growth, development, mentorship, and creativity. So you can see this is more of like an external focus if you have synced with the full moon. Okay, and then also we get the pink moon cycle, which is associated with a time of transition and refers to when your bleed begins on the waxing moon, which is between the new moon and the full moon, I think. Right, yeah. And then the purple moon cycle is associated with healing and refers to when your bleed begins in the waning moon. So that'll be any time between full moon and new moon. Waxing just means getting bigger. So obviously, if you think about a new moon, there's nothing there. And as it gets to the full moon, it gets bigger. And then waning just means getting smaller. So after the full moon, you go back to nothing in the new moon. Okay, so we all know that we don't have to sync specifically with any cycle of the moon. Wherever you sync is perfect. You don't have to change it. But a lot of people do want to change their cycle to maybe link with a specific cycle of the moon. So like I said, syncing your cycle with the moon is not what is important. It's understanding and honoring your own personal cycle that is the most important. But in saying that, there are a few ways that you can try to realign your cycle's energy over time. This also just does not happen overnight. It's not how it works. So the first thing you can do is start to align your circadian rhythm. And that's basically your sleep-wake cycle. So obviously light plays a huge role in our body's natural rhythms. And these days with smartphones and computers and TVs and artificial light, we pretty much mess up our circadian rhythm. Because think about it, back in the day when we used to live on the land, live off the land, no technology, no electricity, when the sun went down, we'd go to bed. And when the sun rose, we would wake up. And that was the perfect circadian rhythm for us. But now, obviously, we lie in bed with our phones on, or we read with a book. We read a book with the light on next to our bed, or maybe you watch TV till you fall asleep on the couch. This is messing up your circadian rhythm because we have all this unnatural light still coming into our system, and our body doesn't realize that it's time to go to bed. So I think that's why a lot of people actually struggle with insomnia and all other sleeping issues, is because we're exposed to too much light. So the first step to get in sync is to start to align your circadian rhythm. And ways you can do this is to keep your home light during daylight hours, preferably with sunlight, and then try to keep your house dark during nighttime. So I know with some people this might be hard, but you can try using blackout lining on your curtains, or you can get one of those cute little eye cover thingies. Just trying to make sure that when you are at night in your house, you're trying to keep it dark as possible. I'm not saying you need to walk around your house with all the lights off, but when you start to wind down for bed, really just be conscious of the lights you have shining all around you. And then during the daytime, try to wear sunglasses less, because then obviously we're blocking out the light during the day, which is just messing us up even more. So yeah, just really trying to avoid artificial light when it's wind down time can really help your body to start realigning with its natural sleep cycles. And that way you can start to align with your natural other cycles as well. Then another really cool thing you can do is moon bathing. So it sounds just like what it is, same as sunbathing, but obviously you're doing it out under the moon. So obviously now, after what I've spoken about, the moonlight plays a huge role in our monthly rhythms, regardless of whether you live in an urban area or a rural area or wherever. So sleeping with, this is quite interesting, sleeping with a light bulb on during the 5 to 6 days of the full moon, and then sleeping in complete darkness for the rest of the month has actually been shown to regulate your menstruation. So I can't sleep with the lights on, but if that sounds like something that would work for you, you can try that. But obviously what moon bathing is just being in the natural moonlight, which is incredibly healthy physically and energetically. The moon, we are so connected to the moon. So just taking time to appreciate Mama Luna during the full moon by going outside and sitting underneath her light. You can take a walk, you can sit there and stare at her. You can even just open the blinds and have a look-see out at her every night, especially during the full moon. This can start to naturally align your cycles with the moon as well. So moon bathing is a really cheap, easy, and effective way to just try align your cycle with the moon. And then one last little tip is just to crack open a window. So getting back to nature is probably the best way that you can really honor your body and try to help it to align with the natural flow of everything. Nature has so many different cycles. So just by opening your window and letting natural air to circulate, letting the sounds of the birds and the wind and the trees rustling in the wind in can really help us to reconnect with that essence of nature, and obviously then it can help us to reconnect with our own natural cycle. You can also bring nature indoors by bringing in house plants, or you can bring in, whatever you can bring in outdoors that makes you feel like your indoors are outdoors. I think I said outdoors when I meant to say indoors, but you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so when it comes to our own natural cycle, it's really important to try and find balance and harmony with nature. After all, we're all animals made from the earth, and we will return to the earth when our lives end. So that's another beautiful natural cycle. So in honor of that, trying to regain your connection with Mother Nature, the sun, the moon, as well as the natural cycle of all of these things, the sun, the moon, and nature, can help your own body to return and connect to its natural cycles. Okay, over to you, Tashana. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Rox.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. I'm pretty sure everyone learned a lot right there. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to talk a little bit about, see, I made notes. The history, let me put this here, the history of cycle syncing. So just to give you, it's a very brief kind of history about cycle syncing and exactly what it is and why a lot of women don't know what it is anymore. So the reason why so many women these days either don't know about cycle syncing, or when they do find out about cycle syncing, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard this, and I'm sure Rox has heard it as well, how many times people are like, why didn't we learn this at school? Why didn't our mothers tell us? Why don't we know this, right? Because as soon as you do know it, as soon as you spend time with it and integrate it into your life, it makes the world of sense and difference to your everyday life output, right? So one of the reasons, unfortunately, why this has been lost for so many years is because of the medical industry, is because of modern medicine, right? Now, me personally, I love modern medicine, right? Nothing against modern medicine, but certain things, you know how that's saying, or how we say, it is what it is, right? Well, it was what it was. Okay. So in certain aspects, in that regard, modern medicine, what happened is all of the wisdom and all of the knowledge that that was gathered by these women for generations and generations, and I'm talking about thousands of years now, got shamed out of existence almost. But that's quite intense. Out of existence, that's not the right way to say it, because here we are, it's resurfaced, right? So I think a better way of saying it would be it was silenced, right? And there was a lot of fear after that put into. So modern medicine, and I understand in certain aspects, it probably was like here and there probably was circumstances where for a few generations, someone said, I'm not saying this is true, someone said bay leaves will stop the bleeding. And modern medicine was like, actually, no, this will. And so that just kind of catapulted into its own thing, where at the end of it, at the height of this silencing, women were murdered, killed, and shamed and silenced for passing on generational wisdom, right? It's sad, but it was what it was. You know, and what happened, the reason why they were able to do it so well is because of fear, right? So if you shame something long and hard enough, you will become fearful of it. And if you become fearful of it, it's very easy then to control a silenced group of people, women in this case, right? So that's why mothers stopped telling their daughters about this, because they were so fearful of their own wisdom being passed on. And by some chance that this will spark, even though the mothers didn't know this, subconsciously what was happening, energetically, what was happening is they didn't want to pass on the magic for fear of what happened generations ago, you know? So that being said, I'm going to perhaps say something else that might not be popular, but that's the work. There's also a brand of feminism that has kind of worked hard in having women work hard, if I can put it that way, right? Women can do anything a man can do. They can do it better, and they can do it bleeding, right? My opinion on that is bullshit. You don't have to. You don't have to. And the reason for that is, now I understand, you know, I'm not saying that brand of feminism was bad or whatever. It is what it is. It was what it was. It is what it is. And I understand the reasoning for that. You know, it was to liberate the women's movement. I get it. But in the process, we have tried to be like men in certain ways, right? In the sense that, now I know this might not be popular, but in this, if we look at it biologically and physiologically, it just doesn't do the female body any good to try and do it like a man, because of the fact that we have different hormonal fluctuations. For example, a man, their hormonal cycle lasts 24 hours, right? The sun rises, the sun sets, it's done. Okay? So for them, a day-to-day routine, pushing through, working at it, all of those type of things, is their body supports it easier. A woman's hormonal fluctuation and cycle lasts around 28 days. So just think about that difference. That's a huge difference. 24 hours, 28 days. That's crazy, right? So it just makes more sense to sync with your cycle and to biohack it, to use it as a life hack, right? So your hormones is what makes you, and what keeps you alive, right? So the hormones, the endocrine system, also closely correlates to the chakra system. So there's like basically 7 main endocrine homes, systems in your body, okay? And all of them correlate, they're all linked. And I mean, they produce hormones that keep you alive or not, in the sense of flight, fight, and freeze. They produce cortisol, right? Your adrenal glands produce cortisol. Then I'm only talking about the female body now. Then you have the ovaries. I mean, we all know what the ovaries are capable of doing. So they produce a lot of hormones as well that keeps you alive, that keeps humanity alive, right? Reproduction. Then you have your pancreas, and that has a lot to do with digestion, and not just food digestion, but also chemical digestion in your body. And then you have your thymus gland, which has to do with your immune system, and you have your thyroid. I mean, that's your blood sugar, etc., etc. I mean, I can carry on for days about that. But what's very interesting to me is the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland is what sends a signal to your ovaries in your womb as a girl to let your body know it's time to start bleeding. How amazing is that? That a gland inside your brain decides when you start bleeding. And so every month that happens. That to me was like incredible. Yeah, so just freaking out there again for a few seconds. So thank you, Rox, for diving into the different phases of the menstrual cycle. What I want to do now is I want to share a little bit of things that I've learned in the last few years. So I have, I don't think I've introduced myself. My name's Altashana. That's all you need to know. I'm going to keep it short and sweet for now, because I want to get to this. Okay. So I have been cycle syncing for around about 7 to 8 years now. And it wasn't always smooth sailing. I fucked up a lot in the beginning because there wasn't just this wealth of information out there at that time. It just wasn't. I don't think we realize sometimes how far we've come with, you know, magic and things like that in just the last decade with regards to information that's available, right? When I started out, there really wasn't that much information. Not, I mean, it probably was there, but that's why it took me 6 to 7 years to formalize a type of a program that works, right? So with that being said, it took me a long while, right? So there used to be this thing where it was like, it's a seasonal thing. It's linked with all the different, like winter, blah, 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 blah. And then they said, you have four phases that you go through each month, and all of them are 7 days long. And so the first 2 weeks of that was fine for me. I found that, okay, you know, yes, it kind of links and syncs. But the last 2 weeks, I was like, I don't know what's going on. This is not working. And because the science wasn't correct, right? The hormones, what was happening with my hormones wasn't accurate, right? So I took out my varsity books, my anatomy and physiology books, and I checked out the hormones. And I also Googled a lot, right? And so eventually I got to this little, to this program. Now, to give you just a quick overview of that, as well as the Flow with the Moon tracker that we've designed. It's really, really cute, isn't it? The cutest thing. So the Flow with the Moon tracker also comes with this amazing ebook, right? And just to touch on a few things. Okay, so the first cycle or the first phase that happens is, we've named it in the Feminine Flow ebook, we've named it the reflective winter phase, right? And it's pretty descriptive. It's about reflection, and very much like winter. Winter is a time for reflection, going within, isolating. Not that now, after the 2 years we've had, that sounds terrible, but you know what I mean? Setting up boundaries, spending time with yourself. My lighting is so terrible tonight. Anyway, and that usually lasts 1 to 5 days, right? It's the first day of your bleed. And it's good to do what? To reflect, to go within, to create that space, all of the beautiful things that Roxy was sharing with us. It's also physiologically, it's called the menstrual phase, which I find to be misleading because the menstrual cycle is 28 days long, right? It's the whole cycle. And then so menstrual phase, like, I understand why the confusion came in. Then the element that's associated with that is the element of earth. Why? Because you're giving back to the earth, are you not? You are releasing blood back to the earth. And also what happens during the time that you bleed, when you're pregnant and giving birth, as well as when you are menopausal, when you no longer bleed, is that your crown chakra and your root chakra is completely open, right? So you are this divine conduit. All your chakras are open for magic to take place, for you to receive downloads and visions. Your intuition, like Rox said, your intuition is on point during that time, if you so wish it to be that way. Now, what are the type of things you can bring into, how can you use this phase in your business, right? So the way I use it is I see it as, again, reflective. So I become reflective of my business. I become reflective of my business and how it's been going the last 28 days, right? I review my business. I review my finances. But wait. Okay, thank you, Marie. We will send you the full version of this. Okay, cool. Cheers, bye, thank you for joining. Okay, so but before you start reviewing your finances, etc., first, rest, release, rest, release, rest, release. Keep repeating that. For example, the first 3 days, that's what I do. I try, if I can, to cancel certain meetings, and that's why tracking your cycle is so vitally important, because then you can start. And I know, Rox, you do the same. You can schedule when you're doing your workshops and your Zooms and your meetings, and when you're doing different things, when you're resting, right? So that, and then day 4 and 5, I go back to work, I go back to the office, and I review my business, I take stock, and I also take stock of my finances. And I usually thought, I was like, no, that's weird. I don't want to do that. But I kid you not, I've been doing it for the last few months, and it's just, I love it. I love it, right? And I actually now kind of look forward to it. I know that sounds really strange, but here we are. Okay, so the second phase after that is we called it the dynamic spring phase. So the dynamic spring phase is usually from day 7 to about day 14. Okay? Day 6, day 14, around there. Physiologically, it is called the follicular phase because of what your hormones are doing. So I'm not going to get into too much depth and detail about the hormones. It is a weekday evening. So basically what happens is your hormones, let's see if I can do it. So when you are bleeding at this point, what your hormones are doing in the follicular phase is they are rising to reach a peak. Now, during this time, obviously, then what is happening is your energy levels are rising. You know, Roxy was also talking about that, how you have more energy, you can get more stuff done. So dynamic, it's in the word. This is a great time for new ideas, you know, to solidify the intentions, and you know, the intention setting, brainstorming, planning, for in your business now, for example. So this is usually now when I would go and I sit down and I plan the rest of my 28 days. You know, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm ovulating there. I should probably do a few lives there because I'm going to feel great, right? So you kind of plan then, do your planning and stuff, and also cleaning your office space, cleaning your computers, your hard drives, your phones, all of those things. I'm not saying you have to do it every month. God knows I don't. But I don't know. Try, set an intention. So then, so that's the dynamic spring phase. Now the next one is called, the expressive summer phase. This is the shortest phase, unfortunately. So this is about 15 to 7, day 15 to 17. So it's about 3, 4, if you're lucky, 6 days, right? And physiologically, this is known as the ovulatory phase. So ovulation is taking place. The hormones have reached that peak I spoke about. So now you are fucking glowing, right? You are glowing and growing and you're feeling all of the good juices, right? So capitalize on that, right? Use those few days in your business to do networking, to do communication, allow yourself to be seen. Because like Roxy also said, you're going to feel amazing. Now, disclaimer, you might not feel very amazing. And that's okay too. Listen to your body. But what I will say, I will give you a tip in saying that if you do feel a bit run down during your ovulation, have a look at how busy you were during your follicular phase. Because of the fact that we have all these hormones rising and it's a, you know, you have all this energy that's taking place, you might end up overworking yourself during this dynamic spring phase. So again, and I think Roxy mentioned it as well, balance. Don't put too much on your plate because you're going to feel extremely independent during your dynamic spring phase, right? Still ask for help, still be able to delegate because you want to experience that glow phase, right? Okay, so number 4. This is called, we called it. Yeah. We called it the creative autumn phase. Okay. Physiologic, this is usually around day 18 to day 28, right? Just before your bleed. This is the longest phase that there is in your cycle. So remember earlier when I said there was this belief that they were all 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. And this is because of this change. Because of this, I wasn't able to fully utilize my cycle, because I wasn't linking it to what's actually happening with my hormones. Okay, so that being said, physiologically, it's known as your luteal, one of the two, but it's called that. I think it's pronounced luteal. Anyway, so that one, for me personally, what I've noticed is I can kind of divide it into two of its own phases, the autumn phase. The first one I like to call the stamina phase. This is where, so your hormones reach this peak, right? So now what's happening is they're slowly descending again. Why? So that you can start bleeding again. Now, in that first wave, that you are still kind of riding that summer wave, that summer glow. And so you still have the power and the stamina to push through, right? So usually this is the time where I sit down and I do things that I perhaps don't normally get to, or there wasn't enough time. So this is, for me, business-wise, this is a really good phase for me to complete things, you know, to work hard and complete things. Sit down and do it, Tash. Just sit down and do it, right? Kind of like that. And your hormones are going to support you. Now, the last bit of this is, you can call it your late autumn phase, right? This is the last bit. This is when you need to start bringing back in that gentleness, that slowness. This is when you start to slowly put up the boundaries, and where you are starting to create space for your menstrual cycle that's coming back. Because this is the phase that's very well known as the PMS. So allow yourself the last few days of your cycle to come back to your breath, come back to centeredness, come back to your body, come back to what's important. Find your breath, find your center, find your sacred space, right? And prepare for your blood, your bleeding. I make it sound so intense. Okay. Now I'm going to give you 6 steps on how you can start to live a happier life with your hormones, right? Because hormone health is really what enables you to live life optimally. So here they are. Some of this you might not like, but I mean, number 1. And I hated this one, but it changed my life. Eat breakfast. Oh God, intermittent fasting, right? Because I was intermitting, whatever, fasting, right? For years, I loved it, right? I was like, oh, I've got so much energy. I love it. I love it. For men, it's perfect because of their hormonal cycle. For women, it's really good to start balancing your hormones early in the morning, within the first hour, if you can. Doesn't have to be a big ass breakfast. An apple, right? Do your body the favor and eat an apple in the morning. So also think about the word breakfast, breakfast, right? So perhaps if intermittent fasting works for you, I was on the 16-18 hour one. So if it works for you, end your dinners earlier. Then you still get that, you can still get those 16 hours, right? Okay, so number 1, eat breakfast. Number 2, up your magnesium intake. Your hormones love magnesium. I see everyone's agreeing. I don't have to explain that. And number 3, drink more medicinal teas because they are medicinal. For example, when you are menstruating, ginger tea is God during that time. Your body will love it if it doesn't already and you're not already doing it. And green tea, quick sideline chat, I fell in love with green tea in China. So they drink green tea like, y'all, it's, some people find it super disgusting, but they'll have a glass, right, with the green tea leaves in for weeks, the same leaves, and they just keep throwing the hot water. And then guess who started doing it? Me, addicted to it. So yeah, I'm a green tea snob now. Where was I? Number 3. Number 4, track your menstrual cycle. For example, via this amazing tracker. So you'll see on the tracker itself, there's like, oh, it's so cute. You'll see that there's like the little drops and where the moon is, and then the months and the days. It is beautiful. Number 5, physically start living it, tracking your cycle, right? Not just, oh, I bled on this date, da 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 da. Start journaling if you want to, right? Really start committing and dedicating yourself to a practice like this, because it will be a game changer. There's no way it can't be a game changer, right? It has the ancient wisdom magic and it has science behind it. So there's no way that you're not going to win at it, if I can put it that way. Then, yeah, that, and number 6 is invest in a menstrual tracker. Or what you also can do is you can download apps, like Roxy also said. She said she's using Cycles and Clue. I used Flow for the longest time, and still until they kept asking me for ridiculous amounts of money. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Cheers, guys. I wasn't asked, but bye. So now I use my Flow, FLO. It is lovely. Well, I mean, I don't know yet. I've only been using it as well for a few days now, Rock. So we're both on new apps. Yeah, we must get together in like 3 months' time and like compare notes with these 2 apps. That's cool. We're doing a little science experiment. Okay, so with that being said, I feel like I said that a lot today, not just tonight, but the whole day. I want to thank everyone for coming, and I have a bit of a surprise for you that I'd like to share with all of you. And Roxy actually inspired me to do this. So for those who are listening this at a later stage, you will still qualify for this. So for each and every one of you here, and those who are listening now, I'm offering something special for just you guys with regards to a program that I'm launching. So this special will include this cycle. Oh, there goes a crystal. This free Flow with the Moon tracker, right? So like I said, it includes that awesome ebook. So that you will get for free. You will qualify for an integration masterclass with regards to all of this type of work, and as well as a one-on-one session with me. Now, the one-on-one sessions with me, the offerings that I do, that is one of the most popular offerings that I offer. And this one is for 80 minutes and it's like worth 800 Rand. So The special is only going to be valid for 3 days, and it's also going to come, you only have to do a 10% discount as a 10% discount, a 10% deposit to qualify for this special, right? Because this one has all the goodies in it, basically. I am going to run a bit of a pre-launch special, yes, but it's not going to have all of the nice goodies in like this one. So if you do want to qualify for that, let me know. You can DM me, or you can ask Rox if you have her contact numbers, contact details. You can find me on Instagram, Moon School. Yeah, and let me know if you'd like to be interested in that, which I'm very excited about. Oh, and the name. Roxy helped me with the name too. I'm so happy about the name. So the name is Glow in Flow of the program. So it is, thank you, Kelly. So it is a 6-week cycle syncing program. And yes, I obviously highly recommend it. It will be such a game changer for you. And I'm extremely excited and extremely blessed to offer this. And yeah, let me know if you're interested in the special, and let's chat. And as always, there will be payment plans. You just come to me, you talk to me, we will make a plan, because this knowledge and this wisdom is important. You know, I'm not just saying it because I'm saying it. It is the truth. I've heard it over and over again. Why don't we know this stuff? Okay, beautiful. And I think now is the Q&A, Rox.
Yeah, don't be shy, guys. If you have any questions, ask now or forever hold your peace. What's it? Hold your
Yeah. Ask now, forever hold your peace. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Why does it sound weird now? It sounds wrong and weird. Will we be getting the recording of this session? My apologies, life happened and I missed it.
Yes. I'll send out an email either later tonight or tomorrow with a link for the replay, so you can relearn and catch up everything you missed.
Yes.
Anything else, ladies? Anything? There's no such thing as a stupid question. Yes, Maxine.
I don't have a question, ladies, but I just wanted to say thank you for blowing our minds tonight. There's so many things that I learned, and one in particular has given me sort of a sense of calm and understanding of my cycle, that the red moon cycle, as you described it, seems to really resonate deeply with me, and things that I sort of felt challenged with in a feminine way, in terms of like the mothering aspect or more of a nurturing side, I felt like I was missing in my flow, but actually I think it's just a different energy expression. So it's something that I'd really like to spend some time investigating further, and it's the first time I've ever come into contact with information like this before. So thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I think it's also so important to remind ladies, especially I'm not planning on having kids, and that doesn't take away from your nurturing mothering side. Like we all have this beautiful nurturing, empathic, caring side to us, obviously, because we're all sacred feminine beings, but you don't have to have children. So for me, I birthed creations into the world. I have my business and my programs and my membership and all those things, and for me, that's the way I express myself creatively and how I bring things into the world. So that's also something you can think about if you are feeling like you're not connected to that mothering nurture side. Doesn't have to be with kids. There's so many other ways you can use that side of you for other things in life.
Definitely.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? I think that's all.
Okay, so just 3 breaths for closing and grounding. Okay, gotta close the circle. Okay, so just take, you don't even have to close your eyes. Just take a big breath in, big belly breath around your breath to become big and your belly. And release. Very good. Shake it out. Again, deep, full breath in, round your belly. Allow your belly to be full. And release. Shake it out. Last one, make it count. And so it is. Hari Om Tat Sat. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Magic as always.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful
Bye.
evening, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye.